Hello everyone, this is Mary Ann and I'm back with the part 2 of the video about all of my fountain pen inks. Now in part 1 you have seen me swatch all of these inks that you're seeing down here on these two sheets of paper. And towards the end of that video, I mentioned that in part 2, I'm going to be showing you how I manage all of these inks. Now I have this. This actually was purchased from Goulet Pens. This is a test tube holder that I use to hold all of my ink vials. Now they came to me disassembled in this manner and I just assembled them in this way. I have them set up for years on top of my desk and I haven't been using them for a while, so they have started to gather dust. So I disassembled everything, took it all apart and wiped them clean, and now I'm assembling everything together again. It's just a very straightforward assembly. You don't even need instructions. You just slot in those 3 trays onto the slots on the white plastic stand, and it's all going to come together and function as it should. And here are all of the ink vials that I have. In order to manage all of those bottled fountain pen inks that I showed you on part 1, I transferred them or decanted a small portion of them into these vials and labeled the vials on the side. So here I am showing you all of the inks in the vials that I have that came from my existing bottles of fountain pen ink. You've already seen Blaze Orange, and now I have Kelly Green, and we are just going to segregate everything because we are going to swatch all of those other inks that are in vials, but I don't have bottles of for some reason. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to put onto the stand all of the vials that I have already showed you in the previous video, which we have already swatched from the bottles. So here's the stand now with all of the vials in it. Those vials contain the inks from the ink bottles that I showed you in part 1. So we're already done swatching them. So we'll put this aside. And now here are all of the vials that I have that I don't have bottles of for some reason. If I remember, I will mention them in the video. I also have this one vial that contains an extra blue pumpkin nib. I think this is new. It doesn't look like it has ever been used because the color is still dark. This here that I'm using is a lighter blue and it's kind of faded. So I just keep the extra nib there in that extra vial. And then I also have this other vial that has a steel collar for the nib holder. And then a third vial contains even more nibs for dip pens. Over there, that is called the Rose. It is the Browse 276. The nickname is the Rose. And then here we have the Browse. I can't see very well. Is it 85? And then the little one here is called the Arrow. It is another Browse pen. It is another Browse nib. I know it's called the Arrow, but I cannot really read the number on it. And then I have another one. It's another Browse one, but it has that little clip-like thing at the front of the nib, and it's supposed to retain more ink, which the nib point needs because the point is actually a kind of oblique italic, so it will need more ink. Therefore, the clip is there to hold more ink in the fold so that you can get more writing done with a wider nib. And those are just some of the nibs that I have that I hardly ever use. I always just use the blue pumpkin because I've gotten so used to it already. But they're easy to interchange. You just do what I did in the video. I haven't really used, I don't remember ever having used any of these nib points or nibs. So now we're back to the blue pumpkin, and let me just return all those other nibs into the vial and keep them there on the stand. And now we are left with all of the vials that contain only ink. Like I've said, these are the inks from bottles that I no longer have, and sometimes some of them come from the ink drop from Goulet pens that they used to have years ago. I think it was in 2012 or 2013. I'll show them to you one by one. I have swatched, I have placed a round white sticker on top of the vial caps and just scribbled the colors on them. And now let us start swatching. We start with a Sailor Apricot. I used to have an actual bottle of this, but I think I sold it. But it's a very, very pretty ink, and this came from the series of inks that Sailor had in 2012 or 2013. These colors, including the apricot, no longer exist, but I think they have retained the actual colors and just renamed them and just repackaged them. As you can see, it is a very nice soft orange. It is still visible even though it's not as dark as black or blue or green. It is still very visible on the paper. It is a good ink. It behaves well. I have never really seen it clog a pen. And let us have a closer look at the Sailor Apricot. It is a very nice color, and I actually remember using it a lot because I like it. This is how the ink looks when written with an italic 1.5 millimeter nib on the Midori lightweight notebook insert. Something that you should note about the Sailor Apricot is that it does have a sheen, like the graphite that I have showed you in part 1. That's how it looks like when it exhibits a sheen. It's very, very pretty. This is with a medium nibbed fountain pen on Tomoe River paper. Next we have the Montblanc. I wrote there British Racing Green, but it's actually the wrong name. The correct name is the Racing Green, and it's a very classy and elegant olive, very dark olive green. There is an actual racing green color that became very popular in the 1920s and 1930s because that's the color that they painted their racing cars. When I heard the name Racing Green, I thought it was some kind of neon, but it's actually not. It's a very dark olive, sort of like petrol, and I have liked that a lot. I have run out of the ink. That's why I don't have the bottle anymore, because I use the bottle so much that that's all the ink that I have left. That's what's in the vial. I cannot find an actual writing sample of this using a fountain pen, but in the close-up you are going to see how very nice it is. It is similar to the Noodlers Shizuku, but the Noodlers Shizuku is of course bulletproof, and the Montblanc Racing Green is not. Next we have Noodlers Rome Burning. I remember why I don't have the bottle of this anymore. It's a very awful looking ink, and it smells so horrible. It's supposed to be bulletproof, and I think it really is. It is bulletproof. It lays down a kind of goldish, purplish, I cannot describe it. Just look at the video and see how you can describe the color. It's a combination of purple and gold, but not the metallic gold or the shimmery gold, just the gold color combined with purple. And it's supposed to be bulletproof, so when you write on it with paper, and if the paper gets wet, the gold washes off and only the purple is left. That's how this ink is supposed to be. But I wrote with it using a fountain pen, and it didn't have that shading that I always look for in a fountain pen, and it smells really, really bad. So I ended up giving it away to a doctor who's a fountain pen collector, and he's a nosmic. He cannot smell things, so I think this ink is perfect for him because it smells really, really bad. His brother told him that the ink smells like feet, but of course he himself cannot smell it, so that's a good thing. Our next ink would be the Noodlers Black Swan in Australian Roses. That's just a shortcut of the name because it wouldn't fit in the label. It is a very nice dark burgundy color. This has another version. The other version is called Noodler's Black Swan in English Roses, and that's supposed to be a slightly different color, but the Australian Roses is what I have. And let's try to swatch it because I don't really remember what kind of burgundy it is. It's a brownish, dark burgundy. And Noodler's inks are really, really bizarre. It's not just the bulletproof inks, even the inks that are not bulletproof have those really, really weird names. And the Black Swan doesn't seem to misbehave too much. It doesn't turn into gunk when it's inside of a fountain pen, and it doesn't make the pen skip. So for the most part, it is a relatively well-behaved pen, and it doesn't smell bad, not like the Rome burning. So there's a close-up of the Black Swan in Australian Roses. It's very dark brownish burgundy, closer to maroon actually than burgundy. Our next ink is Aurora Blue. I really, really like this blue. It's a very nice basic blue that has a little bit more vibrance to it, and it's a very well behaved ink. A lot of fountain pen users and collectors swear by this ink, and I think I already ran out of this ink, which is why I don't have the bottle anymore. And bottles of Aurora used to be available in National Bookstore in Metro Manila, but when I ran out of the Aurora, I tried looking for it in National Bookstore, but they don't have it anymore. So it's kind of a sad thing because I really liked this blue. And I think that if you're just looking for a basic blue that looks just a little bit special, that doesn't call attention to itself, but you know that it's very elegant and it's not your exact ordinary blue, the Aurora Blue would be your ink of choice. And that's how it looks like with the dip pen. And here is how it looks when I loaded it into a fountain pen with a 1.5mm italic nib and wrote with it on the Midori lightweight notebook paper insert. It's very, very nice, and the shading is really good. Up next, we have the Pilot Iroshizuku Ku-Jaku. The line of inks is called Iroshizuku. I just shortened it, and then the brand is Pilot, and then the name of the ink color is Ku-Jaku. And translated, it's supposed to mean peacock blue, so it's kind of like a bright bluish teal. That's how I would describe it, but look at the video and see for yourselves how you would describe it. It's not an exact blue. It is, like I said, it's a teal, but the translation of the color from basing from what I have seen online would be peacock blue. For a while I did like this ink. I did hold on to it, but I remember getting kind of tired of it because blue is a very ordinary color, and I grew up with blue inks, so it must take a really special blue for me to actually like it for a long time. And this ink was not it, so I sold it to a friend who actually likes it. And that's how it looks like up close with a dip pen. And here is how it looks when I used it with a 1.5mm italic nib on a Lamy and the Midori lightweight notebook paper insert. As you can see, it looks very, very ordinary. Our next ink would be Diamine Teal or Diamine. I don't quite know how to pronounce it. I saw swatches of this ink online and I liked it. But when it arrived, it looked sort of like a dull blue jean kind of color. And I didn't really know what to make of it. It actually looks quite close to that Pilot Iroshizuku Ku-Jaku ink. So there was really no big distinction between the two. And I didn't really like the Ku-Jaku after a while. So when I saw the Diamine Teal, I figured I would easily get tired of this ink in a while as well. And I did. But let us look at the close-up so you can see. I think that I have sold my bottle to a friend because I don't remember ever using this ink a lot. So that is the teal. It does differ a bit from the Ku-Jaku. It's not an exact same match, but it has a similar color with a fountain pen, and I didn't feel much attachment to it. Next, we have this ink from the Goulet Pens ink drop. There you have the ink drop branding. It's called Moss Green. It's from the Atramentis, and we have swatched a couple of the Atramentis inks in part 1 of this video, and I really, really like this ink. I have already used up almost everything, and because it came in that tiny vial, I was forced to just use dip pens with it, largely that one, the blue pumpkin that I'm already using in this video. It is a very nice, sort of similar to Kelly green, but darker and with more gray in it. It's not like the moss green that I'm familiar with, the one that's very, very gray and of a medium dark green tone. This one is a happier green. Like I said, it's close to the Kelly green from Diamine, but with more gray in it and a little bit darker. And maybe if I am going to buy myself a bottle of ink in the future, this would be the ink that I would be happy to buy. It's very, very nice. I don't know why I never really got to purchase an actual bottle. I don't remember anymore. But that's how it looks, and I really like it. Our next ink is another ink from the ink drop from Goulet Pens. It's the Noodlers Borealis Black. It's just a basic black. It's not special at all, but let's go ahead and swatch it so you can see. I have never really used this ink. I don't remember using this ink because in the ink drop you get those vials and there's only like 2mm worth of ink inside, just enough for you to dip enough of a dip pen so you can try it out. And the purpose of the ink drop is so that you can try out some of the inks first before you can decide which ones you would actually want to purchase a full bottle of. And this vial came from that, and as you can see, it's just a very normal black, nothing special. And I don't really use much black fountain pen inks because of all the variations of color that are available. I hardly ever use black anymore, and that's how it looks up close. Next, we have the Diamine Majestic Purple, again from the ink drop program of Goulet Pens from several years back, 2012 or 2013, I don't remember. I never really liked purple inks. I don't know why. All purple inks to me look almost the same. I'm not a purple person. But let's swatch this one anyway so you can see. So maybe if you're thinking of getting a purple ink and you are a purple person, then you can see this up close. Diamine is actually a very good ink brand. The inks are very well behaved. The formula doesn't gunk up, it doesn't clog a pen, it doesn't make a pen skip. So if you're unsure about what ink brand to use for your fountain pens, you cannot go wrong with Diamine. And if you're into purple, this is one of the purples that you can probably consider purchasing because it looks that to me, it's just an ordinary purple. And then we come to my favorite ink of all time. It's called the Waterman South Seas Blue. I have finished up the entire bottle of this, and this is all that's left that's in the vial. I discovered this in National Bookstore in I think 2006, and then I fell in love with it, and then I could not stop using it at all. It is a very happy blue. Like I have mentioned before, I have grown up with blue inks, and blue inks are very ordinary to me, so it has to take a special kind of blue to make me want to appreciate that particular ink, and this ink is it. Of course, when you write with a fountain pen ink using a dip pen, the tip concentrates more ink onto the paper, so the ink would appear darker, but when you use a fountain pen, it's not as dark. Here is how it looks close up. It is a very happy blue. It is a bright blue that looks dark there with a nib pen, but let me show you how it looks when I wrote with it using a medium nib on the Midori lightweight notebook paper insert. I like that it is not neon. I like that it is not too in your face bright, and I like the shading that it has, and all in all, I really like this pen. It looks so much prettier in person. This has already been discontinued, but Waterman has retained the color, but it has just changed its name. Nevertheless, I am not too obsessed about purchasing that particular Waterman color, which has a new name, because I have found the Lamy Pacific, which is a special edition ink for 2017. It matches the All-Star Pacific pen, and like I mentioned in the I think my giveaway video for the Lamy Pacific, this is a perfect match to the Waterman South Seas Blue. I have found my favorite happy blue ink, and I'm really glad. I could just purchase the other Waterman ink, the one that's the replacement of the South Seas Blue, but I really like the Lamy Pacific already, although of course their formulas would be different. Waterman is sort of like a trainer ink. It trains a badly mistreated pen to behave better. So here is how they look side by side. As you can see, the color is very similar. They are almost the same. Even the shading is very similar, and I'm quite happy. And I have actually saved the best for last because these are my two, actually they're just one favorite color that I have that exists in two different inks. And these are, once again, all of the inks that we have swatched, combining part 1 of the video and this video, which is part 2. So if you are still here in this video at this point, thank you so much for staying on until the very end. I hope you certainly enjoyed watching this video together with a part 1 of the video, and I hope that this video has been helpful to you. If you have been thinking about what fountain pen inks you are going to buy or try out or look at or consider, I hope this video has certainly helped you out. If you have any questions about fountain pen inks, at least the ones that I have on these two videos, feel free to post your question as a comment down below in any of the two videos, and I will be happy to answer them all. And once again, thank you so much for watching. Catch me again on my next video. Thanks. Bye.